When you're double knitting, there are a few mistakes that are very easy to make. I'm going to go over those real quick, show you how to fix them and how you made them so that you know maybe what you did and try to keep yourself situated better the next time. When we're working across and double knitting, we make sure to knit the yarn and knit the stitch with the yarns in the back and bring both stitches forward, purl, and take them both to the back. And then suddenly we come across something like this. This is a yarn over. That is not supposed to be there, and it's a very easy mistake to make. It's also a very easy mistake to fix. When you come across a yarn over like this, all you have to do is drop it off. Not a big deal. The way that a yarn over is created, I'm going to back up and show you. Is both yarns are in the back to knit. We bring both yarns forward to purl, but we mistakenly only take one of the yarns to the back. And the one that we're going to knit the next stitch with, we left in front. So when we knit that stitch, and we keep going, we don't pay attention to the fact that right there, that extra little loop right there, that is your yarn over. You transfer that stitch, and you can see that's your yarn over. It's not supposed to be there. We'll go ahead and leave that and deal with that when we come back across. So again, you gotta bring both yarns forward, purl, take both yarns to the back. Another yarn over, oh no. Let's drop it. Very simple. Keep going. There may be a little bit of a tension issue, but it's very easy to work it out when you're blocking. It's not too much of a tension issue. So we're going to keep working because we got some other mistakes over here. Because the other mistake that you can make is coming up, and you can see right there we got something funky going on. It doesn't look like the rest of it. So both yarns to the front to purl, both yarns to the back to knit. It's very easy to do a mistake when you're holding the yarn in each hand. It's a little bit harder, say, when you're holding it in one hand. Not impossible, but it's very, I find, for me, it's a little easier to do a mistake when I'm got one in each hand, but like I said, not impossible, because if you take this to the back after your purl, you can always accidentally leave one there and then knit, creating that yarn over by mistake. All right. Take both yarns to the back, I'll switch hands, knit with that gold, and just easy, you could only just bring one yarn forward to purl, which is what we did wrong over here. So you knit, bring them both forward, and purl, and what happens when you come across that? Let's isolate that. You have a bar that is going across your work. The bars are supposed to be internal between the two pieces of fabric. So right there, that bar is connecting one stitch to the other stitch. Very easy to fix this too. You just lift it over and then drop it off. And you're ready to go. Let's do another one. Knit and purl. Come across another bar. You can always go underneath like this. Get into that stitch like that and drop it off that way. Split my stitch there. Work your knit. And your purl, and I'm going to leave that one for a second. because if we don't fix it, and it's a couple rows below, how do you fix that? Oops, split my stitch. So let me work a couple stitches past that. Alright, so if we're seeing that going on, I'll slide these stitches back over, and you come across that, and you're sitting there saying, oh no, how do I fix that mistake? Well, with a bar there, we just still have to get it internal. So what you're going to do is drop, you can use a crochet hook or another needle just so it doesn't go too crazy on you. Undo that stitch, and then again, that bar we just want behind this stitch. So save that gold float, we're going to use that again. We're just going to lift over that bar and get it behind the stitch, because that's where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be hanging out behind the stitch in between the pieces of fabric, not in front. So there we go, we got that stitch in place where it is supposed to be. And we're gonna put that bar back through here and create the next stitch up. And there. It looks good. Let's work our way across, slipping these stitches back like I was. And then let's knit and purl. Knit and purl. Knit two together at the end of your row with the two yarns, and we're going to work on that slip stitch edge. Over here I did a mistake and I've got a garter bump right there. You can see something's not quite right, so I'm going to work back across and correct that, and also show you what happens if you're looking at your work and you see a mistake here where the color isn't correct. And this color is wrong on both sides. So I'm going to fast forward and work my way back across. Alright, another yarn over. Let's get rid of that. Get that fixed. See, right there we've got a bit of a messy stitch. So we're just going to clean that up before we go on. Looks like I just had a split stitch. Might be a little hard to see. Right there, my split stitch. So I'm actually just going to undo the stitch like you normally would. No big deal. Clean up, make sure my stitch isn't split anymore. That looks good. And then with the yarn over, you can just lift that one stitch over the other, and we're good. You can always use a crochet hook too. Now we're at the trouble spot. So this is supposed to be a silver stitch. And you can see we have a gold stitch, and then look at that. There's another gold stitch. So we've actually made the same mistake, 2 stitches in a row, here and here. So we have to undo that stitch to get to this one. And this one is supposed to be silver. So we got to drop down one more column and undo that gold stitch. So we're 2 columns down, or 2 rows down in our column. So if we kind of move those gold floats out of the way, you can see we have 2 silver floats, because those go to this side of the fabric and the gold ones go to the other side of the fabric. So now we need to come back up 2 rows. These are a little loose, which if you only made the mistake on one side, no big deal. You can always adjust that little bit of tension to the surrounding stitches and you won't see it anymore, but making sure my stitch isn't split. So we just kind of tuck that stitch down out of our way, and we go find the float so that we can pull up a stitch, and then we go find that next bar. And if you go over or under, it's not as big a deal because it's going to just twist internally. If you are trying to keep the 2 pieces of fabric separate though, which at this point they would be. See this piece of fabric and this piece of fabric, there's nothing connecting them. So you actually do need to pay attention to how those are connected. So if we're wanting to keep, get this one, so what I'm actually going to do is push the gold stitches to the other side and come this direction to get the silver ones. If I can't, there we go. So in that case, it would matter. You would need to kind of look around at what's going on to make sure that's going to work for your project. But for simple things, for a lot of what we're doing, then we're back up. A little bit of a loose stitch, we'll fix it later. So now we can knit, and then we're going to go purl this one, but we notice, hey, that's silver. It should be gold. So we're going to turn, take a look at what's going on over here. And you can see this looseness that I was talking about. This will be something, like I said, we can correct and shift around, but it just so happens that not only did we make the mistake on that side, we made the mistake on this side too, where we have 2 stitches in the wrong order, which is great. So now we can undo that first one, and then we can undo that second one, so that we can shake out those floats, get everything back in order, and then we lift the bar. You don't want to lift the one that's up higher, because that'll twist your rows around each other. Make sure you take a minute and see that one is below the other. Get the right bar, and crochet hook, or just lift that stitch over the other. Do it again. And now look at that, all that sloppiness, and that's a little bit extra float that we'll fix here in a second. It's all cleaned up, and we're back in the proper order. Depending on the complexity of your pattern, that might be all your mistake is. Could be way more involved. So if you have several stitches in a row that have been done out of order, you can drop off several, correct them, and go back up. It just all depends on how bad it is, because if you have several stitches in a row that are wrong on one side but not the other, you're going to have an issue with your tension. So it's always a good idea to look down. If you're new at it and you think you might be making a lot of mistakes, look down every row or two and see if you can fix anything quickly. You can pop a stitch marker in it when you come across a mistake, but you don't want to spend so much time ripping out when you can just do a quick little drop down and fix. So give it a try. I always say try to fix your mistakes, because even if you make it way worse, you were going to rip it out anyway. So pop in a lifeline if you need to, but otherwise give it a try and see if you can fix those mistakes. Now let's go fix that edge stitch. That's a little more complicated. If you don't fix this mistake now, it's going to be way harder. It's not impossible, but way harder the further up you go. So let's go ahead and correct this edge stitch. So essentially, these 2 threads, they're held together, so that's silver and gold. They're in the wrong place. Just like when we had bars over here that were in the wrong place, we just need to untwist them. So this is a very simple fix for a bar on the edge stitch. You just lift them over and just kind of push them out of here, out of the way, because they're supposed to be on that side, not the front side. Get into your 2 stitches together, and then that yarn over that that was in the front, that bar, it's now hanging out back here. We need to get it off the left needle, because it's just that little bit of slack that we needed, because it's just supposed to be that bar that's on the inside. And that's it. Put it back over here, kind of adjust the tension a little bit, clean it up. There was a slip stitch and we made it a garter edge. There you go. And we're fixed. So if it looks like that, because I can even do this one by just sliding around here. If it looks like that, you got a garter edge and you notice it, Just lift it up and over. And then, I know it's all hard to see, it's all the same color, but I just lifted that bar up and over. Get into your edge stitch, slip it off, dropping that bar off. Put your stitches back over, clean it up. It's a little of a twist there there we go. It'll work itself out. Let me knit that stitch. There you go.